brand new episode of Youth Diary. Today's discussion topic is problem related to the youth. And to discuss on this, we have Dr. Mohanan, Pulmonologist from Renai Medicity, Cochin. Hello sir, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Doctor, first, how do you define youth? Is there any definition for youth?
In fact, youth is an entity which cannot be precisely defined. This is because the transition from childhood to adolescence and from adolescence to adulthood is a continuous process. There is no clear-cut boundaries between these. But anyway, there are a few arbitrary definitions and age-specific definitions with respect to youth. United Nations segment UNESCO defines youth as a period of transition from the dependency of childhood to the independence of adulthood with ample awareness of one's existence as a citizen in the community with interdependence. This definition has got some defects, like when do you become an adult? Adolescence or a youth is the period when most of our time is spent for education and search for a job. Once you attain a job, you are an adult because relatively you are independent. But in the current scenario, with unemployment and all, the period of this transition is upper age limit of this youthful to adulthood transition is receding. So there is no clear-cut age limit for this definition. But anyhow, for practical purposes, UN says that each member country can have its own age limit for defining youth. UN again defines youth as an age between 15 and 24 years. This is the UN. And for African Forum of Youth, this is different. This is from 15 to 35 years. As far as India is concerned, it is said that youth is the period between 13 and 35 years. This is again subdivided between one segment between 13 and 19 years. This is the teenage group, and the second is from 20 to 35 years. This is how youth is defined.
Okay. Now doctor, we'll go to our first query.
Namaste, my name is Arun Shankar. I am from Saraswati Vidyaniketan. Nowadays, our youth are involved in so much problems. How can you classify these issues?
You have to classify the problematic youth as well as you have to enumerate the problems of the youth. The problematic youth can be practically classified into three categories. The first one is called as the thug, T-H-U-G. Second is called the users. And third subcategory is the victims.
Okay, that's quite an interesting name.
Yeah.
What is thug and the other two?
The thug is the most problematic segment in this. They are the antisocials. They are creating atrocities. They are the one who are terrorists, and really they are a threat to the society. Of course, they will be having so many problems in addition which are leading to these sort of activities. Second one is called the users. These are the young who are addicted to alcohol and drugs and tobacco. And third one is the victims. Victims are the segment which actually really need help from the society. Under these victims comes, the destitutes, the jobless, the people in the streets who are thrown to the street and are destined to beg, and the orphans and children of broken family and all. This is the way that this is being broadly classified. Taking these problems into account, there are numerous problems. Actually, because of time constraint, we cannot discuss all the problems. But anyway, I will enumerate some of the problems. Most importantly, we will start with the alcohol and drug abuse. Of course, poverty is a problem. There are problems with respect to educating the youth, problems with respect to employment. Unemployment is a big problem. Even with employment, there are problems. And there are a few problems peculiar to the young women. And issues regarding environment, recreational and leisure facilities, problems of the disabled, actually disabled. Now the terminology is not disabled, it is differently abled. This forms a problem segment in the youth, and ultimately the problem with regard to the democracy, problem with respect to the environment, and last and not least, the health problem. I am a doctor, I am a pulmonologist leading with respiratory diseases, so I will be able to talk at length with respect to respiratory diseases. So these are the problems facing the youth in a nutshell.
Since doctor, you are a pulmonologist and you have a long experience in this field. Nowadays even young kids are into smoking. What could be the possible reason for this?
Smoking is tobacco smoking and tobacco consumption of tobacco products is a big issue among the youth. They said that in the US about 30 to 40% of the school children are smokers. So also with regard to alcohol, also 20% are consuming alcohol also. This is a serious issue. There are so many reasons why at the young age these people are going in for this bad habit. Most importantly, it is the peer pressure. That means that is the encouragement or the pressure from their friends. There may be other stress related to their home, or maybe due to the what they see in the media, like the film stars smoking in the movies. These are some of the reasons. And not only that, this is the only one segment that the smoking is a big issue, and it is predisposing to so many respiratory diseases, like starting from airway diseases like which you call COPD, chronic obstructive airway diseases, to lung cancer. There are hardly any organ in the body which is not affected by smoking. It involves the heart and circulatory system. It can predispose to heart attack, stroke, peptic ulcer, peripheral vascular disease. So many ill effects of smoking. The smoking and alcoholism goes together. The third segment is the addiction to drugs, narcotics and psychoactive drugs. It is said that the youth is involved in all stages of the drug trade, right from its manufacture to the trafficking of drug to the consumption. The ill effects of drug addiction and alcohol addiction are two. One is the direct problem for the subject who is addicted. Second is to the community. It is said that those who are propagating violence and antisocial activities, terrorism, they are all alcohol or drug addicts. You see that professional killers, what you call quotation groups. Most of them are under the influence of drugs. They are not doing these things in their right spirit. They are under the influence of drugs. Whatever is happening in the community, take it for Kannur district, wherever you go. It is the drug which is causing the problem. So this is a big menace, not only for the youth, but for whole community, the nation at large.
Now doctor, let's go to our next query.
I am just Lawrence and I am from Saraswati Vidyaniketan, and my question is that are there any problems peculiar to young women?
Of course, when compare the gender, male and female youth, there are problems which are common to both, but some problems are specifically applicable to the young women. Most importantly, this is the sexual abuse which we come across, whether it is at the public places or working places or even under home situations. This is a real problem which the many women are silently suffering, and very few are dare enough to protest and take an action. There are other problems with women alone are suffering. There are a lot of single parent family where, in the sense that the mother, the young woman is destined to look after the whole family on her own. He has to generate the income, take care of the children and look after them like the whole family. Even if there is a father, he may be drug addict or may be having some problems. With two parents, woman is exclusively looking after the child. And there are another group with the divorcees. And then taking the divorce into consideration, it is the mother who is affected most, because he is supposed to look after the children. The children quite often go along with the mother. This is the same situation, added burden. to the mother. Third is teenage motherhood, like illegal pregnancy. The woman is left around and she is supposed to suffer. The child may be going to the orphanage or somewhere. These are the main feminine specific youth issues.
Okay. Now let's go to the next query.
My name is Mary Titi Joseph and I am from Saraswati Vidyaniketan. Sir, can you tell me what are the problems affecting the youth?
The youth must be aware of its potential. The young women and young men form the largest segment of our population, almost 30% of the total population. And youth is the most vibrant and dynamic and creative and productive segment of our nation. It is the youth which are protecting us from the borders. The total military power is our power of our youth. It's the youth that is affected mostly in the war. So, recognizing the problems of the youth is of very high significance for the nation. When you empower the youth, they can take care of, they can look after the young children as well as the adults, the whole problem. So the problems of the youth is the problems of the nation, so it has to be addressed with that merit. That is the relevance of discussing the issues affecting the youth.
What are the problems in the field of education with respect to youth?
Our constitution lays down the fact that there must be equal opportunities for all our citizens with respect to education. But is it well obeyed and practiced? Nowadays, education is the right of the rich. The most of the educational segments are in the private sector, not in the government sector. Take for example, getting an admission in a private institution, rightly starting from the kindergarten. What are the formalities? It's not enough if you have the talent. You are interviewed for just for formality. What they ask is, how much is your influence? Most importantly, how rich you are. This is that counts most often. And there are a lot of young people who are dropped out from the school because of economic problems. They do not have sufficient money for this thing, and due to inconvenience with respect to even paying for the examination fees, there are students who are missed their examinations. So this is the real issue. Once in the education field itself, now it is the time for ICT, information and communication technology. But this ICT is not in the hands of the poorest segment of society, only in the urban areas. It is there. Once you have access to the net, you have everything. Knowledge is at your hand. But this is not accessible for everybody. Second is the ill effects of information technology. This has been misused by the youth at large. This is a double-edged weapon. You must be aware of the cyber crime, crime associated with the internet. There are marriage alliances arranged through the internet. There are, and the people get close together through the internet. Once they come across, there are a lot of issues, and there are even divorces coming out of marriage through the internet. So this ICT is a menace in one sense, even though it has got a lot of advantages. So educating the youth is the primary responsibility of the government, but there are a lot of fallacies, lot of problems with respect to education. After, what is health? Health has got a physical, mental and social dimension. WHO defines health as a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Two important determinants of health. One is, I would say, lifestyle and environment. If you have good lifestyle, if you exercise regularly, and if you have a concern for the environment, 70 to 80% of diseases can be prevented. In this era, the youth are being affected by so many lifestyle diseases which are affecting the adults by above 45, 50 years. A lot of young hypertensive, young diabetics, young people are developing a heart attack, and also smoking associated diseases which we call COPD, Previously it used to affect people above 45. Now the young people are coming with symptoms of chronic obstructive airway disease. So this is very important. You must love our population. If you love our people, you should definitely love the environment, the ecosystem. See, in spite of so much of urbanization, what is our state of sanitation? What is the state of our waste disposal? You walk around in the city and all. Here and there, carelessly people are throwing all sorts of waste. Somebody who should flush my own toilet, it is myself. You should not wait for other people to do it. So this concern for the environment is not a response with government alone. Each of us got each young youth and all of us got individual responsibility towards the environment. That I would say with so much of exclamation. I will say, take care of the environment. You take care of the mosquitoes, flies, clean air, clean environment. Almost 70 to 80% of the diseases can be prevented. Here what happens is you are creating diseases and again treating it, again diseases coming out. It is a vicious cycle. If this has to be broken down, you must have a strong point in mind. That is healthy lifestyle, exercise, and the concern about the environment. The youth has to take these facts into their mind, in their heart.
Among all these issues, what is the most important issue and what is the take-home message?
Most importantly, the problem that is marauding the youth now is that in spite of everything, they are under stress, irrespective of they are employed or unemployed, educated or uneducated. There are tremendous degree of stress. This point I got from my own patients who are employed patients. They are employed. The problem with employment is that they are not properly employed. Their job is not suitable for their qualification and their working time and the salary, what they are getting back. Everything is problems. So they are forced to work overtime. So this stress prevails everywhere. This is the one thing because of so many reasons. And if there is if you ask any solution for these problems, of course there is solution. But before having a solution, the youth has to understand his problem by himself, because he is a little more mature. He is not a child. And there are a lot of activities throughout the world, in the government setup, in the private setup, NGOs, voluntary organizations, so many associations are there, and the youth must be aware of all these things, how the youth welfare programs can be practicalized, and youth should not be an instrument in the hands of others. This is what is happening now. The political parties are using the youth for their own gain. The youth doesn't recognize that. They are instruments for creating violence and problem. Their creativity is not well recognized because of the lack of motivation. So the youth should recognize and realize that they are immense creativity. They are like the heated iron which can be molded into any shape. So the future is full of hope. The youth has to realize that they are the leaders of tomorrow. They have to rule our country. They are the decision makers. The youth forms, I told you, 30% of the population. They are the biggest vote bank. So they are the decision makers. They are the people who decide who should rule us. This point must be in the mind of all the youth, and the future of youth is definitely full of hope. This is the take-home message I would like to add.
Thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
Hope this episode cleared much of your doubts regarding health-related issues. If you have further queries, please mail to us at youthdiaryrosebowl@gmail.com.